This week's Torah portion is called Teitze, and it is jam-packed. There are 74 mitzvahs delineated in this week's Torah portion. And I'm not going to do it justice, but I do want to speak about the notion of what a mitzvah is. So sometimes people interpret mitzvah as a good deed. They are good deeds, but the root of the word mitzvah is to connect. In Hebrew, it means to connect. And so a mitzvah is something that helps us connect to the divine, helps us connect to God. And when we do that, we bring light and we bring blessing, we bring godliness into the world. So we have these opportunities. We are blessed with mitzvot, many of them, 613, but in this week's Torah portion we learn about 74 of them. Opportunities to turn the tap of blessing and light into the world. We get to do that. And in the process, we perfect the world. We bring the world along in goodliness. We bring goodliness and godliness and light and blessing into the world. And we also perfect ourselves. We also work on making ourselves into more godly people, into better people, into people who are connected to the divine. So in this week's Torah portion, there are 74 of them. And some of them are obvious to do and some of them are not. In one of them in particular, there's a reward that's given, but most of them there's no reward given. The reward is the mitzvah itself. You get to do the mitzvah, you get to open up the channels of blessing and light, and you get to work on yourself, and you get to be a source of blessing in the world. So all around, good things to do. One of this week's Torah portion's mitzvot that we learn about is not to take a mother bird when she's on her nest, when she's caring for her eggs, when she's sitting on the nest and she's protecting and taking care of her young, and you want to take the mother bird and the eggs at the same time, don't do that. Why? Because the mother bird, the only reason that you can capture this mother bird is because of her maternal instinct. Her desire to take care of her young means that she won't leave her nest, and if you take advantage of that maternal instinct by taking the mother bird, then that's a cruel thing to do. Don't be cruel. Be sensitive. Be compassionate. Think of the mother bird's feelings, right? So, and some of these mitzvahs are about taking care of animals. Another one in this week's Torah portion is not to muzzle an ox when it's in the field, that it has to be able to eat from the field. Don't muzzle it. That's cruel to the ox. Don't put an ox and a donkey on the same plow, because the donkey isn't as strong as the ox, and it's not nice to the donkey to put him on a plow with an ox. So don't do that. So there's many mitzvahs about taking care of animals, being compassionate. And when we do that, we make ourselves into compassionate people. We're kinder people. We're thinking about the animals. And we're also thinking about people, for sure. We're thinking about people. We're thinking about people in the mitzvahs, like when you go out to take your harvest in and some of it falls, leave it for the poor people. Leave the vine, the bits left on the vine, leave the corner of your field unplowed for the poor people. When you have somebody who works for you, make sure you pay the person on time. Don't let that person wait for the money or ask for the money. Have sensitivity to the feelings of your workers and pay them on time. When you're in the marketplace and you're doing business, don't weight your measures in a dishonest way. Make sure they're weighted correctly, accurately, so that you're honest in business. Be honest in business. Take care of making sure that you're doing things above board. These are the imperatives. These are the mitzvahs that we're taught in this week's Torah portion to help us to be kinder, to help us to be more compassionate, to help us go above and beyond. Another mitzvah in this week's Torah portion is to return a lost object. And actually, one application of this mitzvah is to return the health to somebody who's lost their good health. So doctors and nurses, and even ourselves, if we have the capacity or the wherewithal or the knowledge to help someone in their returning to them their good health to them, we should do that. It's a mitzvah to return somebody to good health. It's a mitzvah to connect to our souls and reconnect our souls and help other people connect to their souls, to have a spiritual health returned to a person. So that's another application of this mitzvah. And obviously then objects are part of this injunction to return lost objects. There's a true story of a rabbi who bought a desk. I think it was in New Haven a number of years ago. And as he had to dismantle the desk to bring it into his house, he found a bag in the back of the desk that had thousands of dollars in cash in it. And the old lady that had sent him, the old lady that had sold him the desk had forgotten about this bag. I guess she felt like she had lost it, and he found it, and he didn't buy the contents of the desk. He just bought the desk. So obviously, he did the right thing and he returned it. But if there was a question in somebody's mind as to whether to keep the money or to return the money, the mitzvahs are helping us go above and beyond. The right thing to do. Here's the guide. The guidebook is the Torah. Here's the guidebook for what to do. So if you don't return a lost object, then you're not following the mitzvot. So return those lost objects. Sensitivity to others. Another application is to remember Miriam. What happened to Miriam along the way when she spoke about Moses, that she was afflicted with this skin condition called sara'as. But remember how she spoke about Moses, and it was a slight, speaking about him in a way that wasn't correct. But so to us, we have to be so careful how we speak about other people, not to slander, not to gossip, not to say the wrong things about other people, because we're sensitive not only to the people listening, but the person who we're talking about, and to ourselves. We shouldn't do that to ourselves. So the 3 ways there is be careful how you speak about other people. So let's go back. A mitzvah is a connector. It connects us to God, brings us closer to God. It helps us work on ourselves to be better people. It helps elevate the whole world and make more blessing and light and goodness and godliness come into the world. So it's teaching us how to be kind. It's teaching us how to be compassionate. We also learn to not hate. It says, don't hate the Egyptians. The people who enslaved the Jewish people, were told, don't hate them. Because hatefulness is not a good character trait to hold in your heart. Don't be somebody who hates. It's not good for you. It's not going to create the best person you can be. So try to work on eliminating hate. So don't hate the Egyptian who afflicted you, who enslaved you. Don't hate the Egyptian. Another mitzvah that we learn about in this week's Torah portion is to bury a person. If a person is, we find it, I don't know how this works necessarily, but we have to bury people right away. Make sure that the body, which is created in the image of God, has to be buried right away. Be careful how we bury our dead. So there are many, many, many different applications of the injunction to work on ourselves through mitzvah observance, and they're in our everyday lives. They're in everything we do when we're in the agricultural world, we're in commerce, whether we're in our homes, how we talk to each other, how we interact with each other. These are the mitzvahs. And it says in the very beginning, Teitze, when you go out to war. What's the war? Some of our commentators suggest that the war is the battle to do the right thing, that our soul's in our body and we're challenged by circumstances that we have to win. We have to win the battle to do the right thing, to choose life, to choose blessing. And when we are in that battle, we're told God will help us. God will help us choose the right way. And we also learn that one mitzvah leads to another mitzvah. The more you do, the more you move your battlefield up the battlefield, the more mitzvahs will come your way to do more, and you get to do that. And at the very end of the parsha, and I'll end here, the end of the parsha, we learn about not forgetting Amalek. Amalek was the evil man who tried to destroy the Jewish people. He comes from behind when the Jewish people have come through the Red Sea. We've escaped Egypt, and now Amalek's attacking us. Who's Amalek? Amalek's somebody who's introducing doubt. He's cooling off the waters. We're passionate. We're running. We have God, God in front of us, and clouds and light, and God's helping and rescue us. And then Amalek attacks to kind of cool us down, to introduce doubt into the equation. And our fight, our remembering Amalek, is so that we can continue to live with passion. We continue to live with conviction and with a sense of commitment to following in the ways of God. So Amalek is at the end of this week's Torah portion to remind us to not get called off, to stay passionate, to stay committed, to overcome doubts, and to follow in the ways of God, so that we work on perfecting ourselves, perfecting the world, and bringing us closer to the divine.